whiskey one. Sheds hit the fan, we're overrun. Sending boys in the trucks with the 50 cals. Tell every swinging dick bring extra rounds. Hang in down, boys, we're on our way. Don't send them all to heaven before we get a taste. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip the doors of room. What you gonna do, my friend, when the devil is at your door? You run and hide, in the end you just got tired. Cause you started a party, we invited guests. Let me introduce you to the shadow of death. The shadow of death. Whiskey man is whiskey one. We're all secured and they're on the run. Tell them boys in the trucks with the 50 cal. The next time I see them, I'll buy the rounds. Tell the devil of Ramadi we gon' call them real soon. Next time they wanna party, bring whiskey too. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip the nose of war. What you gonna do, my friend, when the devil is at your door? You run and hide, in the end you just die tired. Cause you started a party, we invited guests. Let me introduce you to the shadow of death. Shadow of death. Let's slip the nose of war. What you gonna do, my friend, when the devil is at your door? You run and hide, in the end you just die tired. Cause you started a party, we invited guests. Let me introduce you to the shadow of death. Shadow of death.
And welcome to another edition of the True Patriot Outfitters Podcast, special All-American Kayak Series edition. Folks, it has been a wild and crazy week down in Missouri down there at Truman Lake. What an amazing event the Kayak Classic was. It is the biggest event of the year for the All-American Kayak Series. We had 196 anglers from around the country joining us there. I believe at one time there was 26 teams represented. I think at the end of the day, 20 teams filed out. What the teams are is there's a lot of clubs that can that basically qualify their anglers, top 10 in AOI points from clubs that are affiliated with the All-American. Basically set up. So what they had on the side was the team championship. They took the 5 best anglers from each team when they signed up and calculated their lengths and measurements and basically put that against the other teams. That was super cool. Man, it was, they were calling, the weather was calling for rain leading up to the thing, and then the rain never happened. It was surprisingly dry for me personally, I just normally am used to a little bit of humidity down there in Missouri, and just didn't feel it, man. It was definitely a different atmosphere than what the Truman Open was last year. And primarily, the biggest reason was the extremely low water levels. Now, I don't have a ton of experience on Truman Lake. I've been there for a few times, but I will say I've never seen it that low. And there were a couple areas that, that were pretty dodgy, man, trying to get in. I mean, Truman Lake is a pretty shallow, I've always said this. It's the least Ozarkian of all the Ozark lakes in my mind, personally. The others kind of have some common denominators and some tendencies. Truman doesn't. It's kind of its own bird down there. But, so deadheads, that's the name of the game. I know back in the boat days, that was the thing I always feared the most was tearing my lower end unit off. And now with that water level, when it was so low, man, it made some of those creek channels just nothing but tree fields, man, and deadheads everywhere. Even running my trolling motor on the kayak through there was still sketchy, trying to get through. Before we get into that, folks, let's pay the bills real quick. Tonight's episode brought to you by the All-American Kayak Series. Also brought to you by the Romans Warrior Foundation and all of its divisions, Stop 22 Tour, Hoosiers with Hearts Disaster Relief Team, Global War on Terror's Wall of Remembrance, and, of course, the Stop 22 Tour. As you heard Sal Gonzalez during our countdown there, the Shadow of Death song of his, he is part of the Stop 22 artists. He is a Marine that served his country, and now he believes in giving back to his fellow veterans out there. The other two sponsors we have for this episode here, of course, Eagle Claw Laser Sharp Trocar. Check them out. If American made means something to you, Eagle Claw's for you. If you like sharp hooks, trust me, Trocar definitely for you. And last but not least, All-Terrain Tackle Bass Jig Specialist. All-Terrain we've been with for the longest out of all of our sponsors. They continue to take care of us year in and year out, and we trust the jigs like none other. The swim jig is still one of my most favorite search baits that they put out. So now that the bills are paid, we've got a special guest with us here tonight. This young man, it's one of the better stories that came out of the deal there. Before we bring him in there, we had a couple things to kind of touch base on. The winner, Corey Sykes, who put on a clinic out there out of Arkansas, did a phenomenal job. We tried to get him on the podcast. He had committed to another podcast over there, which totally respect that and understand that. Chad Davison, my man, my homie, the Dream Crusher, has been on our podcast so many times. I just thought, you know what, let's get something a little fresh. I have a feeling I'll be interviewing Chad again, probably very, very soon, so we'll get him. The dude that came in third place, though, is a guy that I know in his local area he's been on the radar, but I have a feeling he's about to make some waves on the national scene, too, and that's going to be a ton of fun to watch. So we've got this young man getting ready to bring him in there. One small piece of national news in the fishing thing that we're actually going to break from our normal format, and I'm going to throw an opinion out there. This is to the trolls of the internet, because I've read some stuff and seen some feedback on this one topic, and I just feel compelled to throw my opinion in the ring out there, and more importantly, just from an old guy perspective. What I'm talking about, if any of you watched the NPFL, there was an event not too long ago where Ryan Satterfield won the event. Initially, Baron Adams had won the event, but then it was discovered that Baron did not have his fishing license for the state he was in. So by a rule disqualification, Ryan Satterfield won that event. And I was reading through some of these comments here as I was, throwing my congrats out there to Ryan. And make no mistake, I totally get it. This is not, some people out there, how do you not do this? It's very easy. When you're fishing in about 20 different states, trying to get your fishing license all together, it could easily happen. I'm not saying anything about, otherwise. But there's some idiots out there talking about Satterfield can't feel good about winning like this, or he should give half his purse to, to Baron Adams, this and that. What a load of horse crap. Clearly, whoever's saying this mess is people that have not done much tournament fishing or have never done it. Because the bottom line is this, folks, especially at that level, you got to be a pro, man. And unfortunately, you violate the rules, that's that. Ryan Satterfield won that event flat out. End of discussion. There's no other ways around it. He followed the rules and he put it on the board. Done and done. You can mince words all you want, but at the end of the day, man, rules are rules. And as much as it sucks, we've all been hit with something. We've all, seen people hit with stuff. It's part of our sport. That's why the rules are there. They're not there to be bent or flexed. So congratulations, Ryan, on a victory. Well earned. Awesome, cool stuff to see you out there. So end my rant at that point. So let's bring the man himself in. We have with us, and folks, this is the first time that I'm having an opportunity to really sit down and talk with him. So I don't know much about this dude. So we're all going to discover it here together at the same time. The young man who came in third place at the All-American Kayak Classic against some of the most dangerous hooks on the planet, Jake Gellerson. Let's bring this young man in here. Jake, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. We got you. Well, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Has it set in yet?
Oh, man, that's crazy. I can't believe that really came together on day 2.
I was looking at that, man. I was looking at your day 1 there. We'll get to that for sure. Because that's part of what when I was watching you on stage and, at the awards ceremony and then got home doing my homework here, I was like, this is a story, man. This is super cool. We need to talk about this because to me, it embodies the All-American Kayak Series, man. What you did, how you did it, that is what this series is about. And that's what makes a victory like this, dude, is something to, or a third place is something not to shake, a stick at. This is pretty awesome stuff. You were going against some serious anglers in that field out there that were out to take all of our money. And in turn, you took a good chunk of it, coming in third. So let's start this thing off, brother. Who are you? First off, how old are you, Jake?
I'm 17.
That is freaking awesome. 17. You're still in high school?
I am, yep.
Nice. Senior?
I'm a junior.
A junior. Right now, there's a bunch of old guys going, oh, man. That's right. Just got whooped by a high schooler. How long have you been just fishing in general?
Oh, gosh. It's probably been, I don't know, 8 or 9 years probably. But
yeah.
I used to live in Minnesota a couple of years back, and we would just fish. My dad works at a rock quarry, so we'd fish the private rock quarry ponds, and then we moved to Iowa about 7 years ago, and I heard about Iowa kayak anglers from a friend. So we got some like Fleet Farm Sun Dolphin kayaks and went out and did a tournament, and it was pretty brutal. We went to Brushy Creek for our first tournament, and I only caught one fish, but it ended up being a keeper. So
nice.
And then we slowly upgraded. We went to like Ascend kayaks, and then just a couple of years ago we got Hobies and started doing the full year of the Iowa Kayak Anglers Trail.
Dude, you were on the fast track there to go from that Sun Dolphin into a Hobie now. Holy Moses.
Yeah.
So let's move this thing back. You were in Minnesota. Is that where you're from?
I'm from Wisconsin.
Okay.
We lived there for 5 years and then moved to Minnesota. Lived there for 5 years. And
what part of Minnesota? I just actually moved from there myself.
We lived about 15 minutes from Rochester.
Oh, no kidding. What town?
Eyota.
Oh my gosh. I have a very good friend who lives in Eyota. I worked for the Rochester Public School District for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So right from your neck of the woods. There isn't a whole lot of water to fish down there, brother.
There's really not, no.
You got the river and you got Chester Woods.
Gosh, And we barely fished public down there. That was mostly just we got the good hookup with rock quarry ponds. So
Nice, nice. And then you moved into Iowa. So now are you with Kayak? Is that who you're fishing with over there?
um, I'm a member of Iowa Kayak Anglers.
Oh, the IKA.
Yeah, there's a branch
Gotcha.
off. Yeah.
Yep. Tim Gurley, Jeremy Brandis, those guys?
Um.
Or no?
It's like Clay Cross, Joe Bailey.
Okay. Gotcha.
I fished a couple IAC tournaments with Jeremy Brandes and those
Yep.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that must be the other one there. I know there's several in the state there. That's awesome. Well, and you guys have, I mean, that section of the country, that's natural lakes galore up there, right?
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah.
There's a lot to pick from. Yeah.
That is super cool. Super cool. Yeah, we're very jealous out here in Colorado, man, because all of our stuff is all man-made, and the word grass means something completely different in Colorado. It's not associated with fish. I'll tell you that. And yeah, we're all rocks, gin clear water. We've got a couple lakes with a little bit of vegetation here and there, but really nothing to speak about. So it's smallies play a big game for us here. I'm actually really looking forward to Okoboji, man, because that's going to be back north style smallie fishing, not the the timid type of fishing. That's not going to be happening up there. Those things will be violent when they hit.
Yeah.
You going to make that one for the All-American?
I don't think I'm going to this year. I think it landed on a school event or something like that.
Gotcha. So are you in sports or on a fishing team or anything else in high school right now?
I just play golf on
Nice.
our golf team, but our school doesn't have any fishing teams. I go to Maquoketa Valley, and the closest fishing team to us, I think, is West Delaware.
Okay.
So, which is crazy because we literally have Lake Delhi probably 5 minutes from our school, but
Right.
I don't think there's enough interest, I guess.
It's tough, it's getting the school systems to get behind those things. We didn't have one in Rochester either. Everything had to be done by a club or whatever, outside. And then it was going to be tricky to kind of piece all that stuff together. So it's more and more schools are picking it up, but it's usually got to be, you got to have a lot of community support to get behind you for that
Yeah.
stuff. Especially dealing with all the logistics with boats and captains and liability and that sort of thing. So, have you done any of that fishing out of boats and so forth? Has it always been kayak?
I've only fished out of a boat, gosh, probably 3 or 4 times.
Nice.
Sometimes my friend will take me out on Lake Delhi on his John boat, but that's
Right.
about as different I get from a kayak.
Nice. So, how did you qualify for the Classic leading up to this? How did you get your entry into the Classic?
I finished top 10 in IKA that series. Yeah, it was crazy. I'm not sure how many people went to our championship. I think it was like top 10 members, but I think I was sitting in 5th or 4th in our Angler of the Year race.
Right.
But our last tournaments, it's AAY points, and it was Saturday and Sunday, but it was just best 5 fish, and Saturday was homecoming for school.
Oh no.
So I ended up in dead last. I caught a limit but I only fished Sunday, so I finished like 9th. So I was probably down there for Angler of the Year, but still made top 10. So
Right.
those.
Finding some of the pictures here, some of the fish you were sacking up down there at Truman. That was a pretty decent one. Not too shabby. Doesn't show any signs of spawn beat up. Well, actually, maybe it does. Were you finding them on beds down there? Were you finding them off? Where?
It's hard to tell whether they were on beds or not, but I think there were a couple big ones. So I'd go into coves, and I'd stand up, and of course I'd see bass. They'd swim away, but then they'd eventually come back. But I didn't see any like crazy size to them.
Right.
And
A lot of buck bass, maybe.
yeah, it was very weird. And over pre-fishing, it was like it seemed to be one a day. I'd find one right around 20 inches each day, and it was so random. It would just be in a cove, and I just flipped a jig all around, and eventually I'd find a decent one, normally around 20. So and that kind of seemed to be the deal of like if I could just find one 18 to 20 inch fish a day, that would boost me up quite a bit.
So on day one, you go out there and you do that. You're flipping a jig around. I mean, did you play any topwater first thing in the morning, mess around with anything else, or was just jig in hand and away you go?
Didn't even try top water. I heard the buzzbait bite was on, but man, I just don't like throwing top water when I can throw something else. So
Gotcha.
I tried a
So
square bill, and I caught a small one in the morning, and it was probably like 14 or 15 inches, and I just thought that's not gonna get me anywhere that size. So I just just went with a jig the rest of the day.
So after day one, you go out there and you put up 80.5 inches and 8 fish caught on there. So I assuming you had some culling in there that was taking place, is what it shows. 8 that you submitted at least. Did you run into the white bass and some of those throughout, crappie, anything like that? Did you hit any of those?
I didn't. I caught a catfish at one point.
Nice.
It wasn't too big, but that was about all the variation I had.
I suppose on the jig, yeah, for sure. I actually hit a freak white bass hit my jig as I was reeling it back to the boat. It just, because I had gone through the my strike zone area where I wanted to be, and so I was just burning it back, and this psycho come up and just smoked it right at the kayak, man. It was crazy. But so 80.5 inches, and folks at home, you need to understand this. We were so tight on weights, or I'm sorry, on measurement of fish. There were so many fish caught at this tournament. It was ridiculous. Day one, everybody ended up getting on them and putting up limits and such. It was, at least most did. And so, Jake, after your day one with 80 inches and a half, you were sitting in 32nd after day one. So you're out of the check range there. Checks were going to be top 20 only. What's going through your head that night, brother? Are you thinking, I got to do this again and maybe I got a shot? Or are you thinking, these guys are coming for me, I'm going to get smoked? What was going through your head after day one?
So, I mean, the morning of day one, I mean, it started off pretty slow, but I picked up that, I think it was an 18 and a half, which I think was possibly one of those females. I picked up and I knew I couldn't repeat that in the area that I was fishing. So at the end of day one, I made a run way over to another spot we hit pre-fishing, and I picked up a couple better quality fish, and I lost 3 or 4 on this bluff wall, and they felt good. So I figured I could hit that the next day because their fish hadn't seen my lure the first day, and I just figured, I got to swing for the fences because 75 inches isn't going to put me up there.
Right.
So I kind of had a game plan, and I figured the measurements would go down in the leaderboard. So
you go out, and I'd say you smacked a biggin. This thing you put up on the screen here, I love the creativeness of the extra identifier on your hands there. That was awesome. Yeah, so you dropped this behemoth up on the leaderboard. That was 20 inches and 3/4 inch, so 20.75 is what you put this monster up on there. That's clearly a female for sure, and she's not been beat up, it doesn't look like at all. So she was still roaming, pre-spawning, and looking for a bed. But you backed it up also with another 18.5. I mean, you were finding some quality fish on day two. What was the difference? Was it just a different spot, or were you choosing to throw something different? Or
I was throwing the same jig. And what's crazy is, so that 20 3/4, that was one of those females that was just in a cove and was just a random flip. And earlier in the week, I caught a 20 1/4 in the same cove. So I knew they were in there. It was just, again, trying to find one in there.
Right.
So I found that one. And then the crazy part is I go back out to the bluff wall and I catch that 18 1/2 on the bluff wall, probably 10 feet of water.
So on the main lake section of where you're at, you actually caught something out there.
Right.
Wow.
So I couldn't tell you how. I mean, I figured all the big ones I would catch would be in the coves, but there was some quality on the bluff walls too.
And that I assume points were playing in with you, playing right around the cove points and such, because that's where we were seeing stuff. I couldn't convince mine to play nice with me like yours did. But so yeah, brother. So day 2, I'd say things went a little better. So day 2 rolls around, and my man Jake here drops 90.75 inches, which I believe is the largest bag of the entire tournament. You took first place on day 2. I mean, you beat out the eventual winner. He was in second. You got some names in there. You got Matt Kern in there, Chad Davidson, Tommy Probst, Kyle Christensen. I mean, there were some. Ryan Wells was in there, and Ryan put up a 21 and a 20. I mean, these guys. But you put up a stringer. I mean, the smallest fish you had in there was 16 3/4. That's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, thanks. No, I knew it could be done in that area. I wasn't sure if they'd had been pressured, and turns out they weren't.
That's awesome. And that's one of the things on Truman too, is finding the least. I don't think you're ever really going to find unpressured fish when an event that big with that quality of angler, and that many anglers is there. You're not going to find a secret spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not on a lake like Truman with that much knowledge on it. But you are looking for the ones where, maybe it's the pattern within a pattern, right? That maybe the other guys aren't seeing, in there. And clearly you found that, man. You were all over that. So what does mom and dad think about this?
They were pretty excited. Yeah, Dad was following me around on day 2 and watching me, and he got pretty darn excited when I pulled that big one out of that cove, and we called Mom after the tournament ended, and she got pretty excited too. So
your dad was with you down there,
right? Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he didn't qualify through it, so we split up on day 1, and then he said day 2 he figured he'd just watch me fish and so see how it ended out. But
that's awesome, man. That is so cool that you guys get a chance to do something like that, especially on a stage that big. I mean, that is, for a lot of us that have been doing this for a lot of years, it's the All-American holds a special place in my heart personally. Just for what they stand for and for the stories that come out of it and the anglers that are involved in it. No, we're not the big flash and glam, of some of the other national trails. And that's cool. They've got the reputation. They put the anglers up there. They got the money. That's super cool. But at the same note, I love the fact that opportunities like this are for young men like yourself to get out there, and put your skills on display, and more importantly, just a group of anglers, those of us from the Midwest. I'm in the West Midwest, but the Midwest anglers are represented at the All-American, and they need to be, man, because they're like I said, there's some flat out, just stone cold hooks in this group, and I'd give my odds on them in any one of those national series out there. And I think it's just going to be a matter of time before people see the return on investment with the All-American. They see stories like yourself, man, that, hey, put your head down, go to work, go grind, and, good things come out of that stuff. So it won't be long, and we'll see the All-American be putting up these kind of numbers on the regular, I think. Obviously, as soon as gas prices come back down, it might be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Trying to travel that. How long of a drive was it for you guys?
I think it was around 6 or 7 hours for us.
That's a walk in the park, dude. So for me to get to Truman is like 10, right? 9.5, 10. Trust me, that is awesome. I'll take that every day of the week. We were just in Gunnersville. That was 18 hours.
Oh.
South Carolina was like 22 hours. Texas to get down to Lake of the Pines, that was a 15, plus hour run down there. Yeah, brother, that's that. So yeah, enjoy that while you can. Those 6-hour runs, that is awesome stuff. For sure. So are you, do you have any plans for any more of the All-Americans this year? Are you going to try to get in any more of them, or are they conflicting? I mean, September, that's kind of busy time of school, starting up your senior year.
Right. We'll probably stay local mostly for the rest of the year. I know we might hit one. I think there's a Mississippi one, isn't there?
There is. Pools 13 and 14 right in your backyard, man.
So we might hit that, and but other than that, I think the only other real big one we're going to this year, I think Bass is going on the Mississippi too.
Lacrosse.
7, 8, 9. Yeah.
You've done pretty well. I was looking through your Facebook there, and yeah, you've done pretty well for yourself at Lacrosse there. So I'm still him-hawing myself. That might be my last Bass event I do for a while until they kind of iron out their stuff, as far as where they're at with the kayak game. And as soon as they also start putting more stuff this way, we're all in on the All-American buys. But yeah, I might meet you up there for that event. I've fished Lacrosse a lot. I like my chances up there, so it could be a cool deal.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, we are wickedly impressed with you. You and I spoke. I know, and I want to make that mention on this. When asked about what company you wanted to work with, you mentioned a company very near and dear to my heart. You said All Terrain. All Terrain Tackle is the longest running sponsor that I've had for more years than I can remember now. The very first jig that got me introduced to All Terrain when I was up in Minnesota there, because they're actually based out of Rogers up there, was their grass jig. If you know Minnesota, I have a feeling it's very similar in Iowa. Pike, northern pike, are a tackle destroyer, right?
Yeah.
I got tired of having 15, bucks worth of punching rig stuff snapped off by these stupid pikes. So I wanted something that I could put on and punch through that hydrilla quickly. And so I grabbed the all-terrain grass jig and started working that just to see what it would do. There you go. Yep. That bad boy right there will absolutely just terminate through hydrilla, man. It just punches straight through. And you can get it out of there without having to really rip too much. She just passes through the weed so well. So that's what turned me on to them, and I started chatting with them. So when you made mention of that, I had given you my card there because I am going to connect you with Matt Johnson. Matt Johnson is the man in charge of all pro staff for All Terrain Tackle, Blackfish Gear, and Clam Outdoors. They're all under the same roof. All Terrain was bought and brought underneath the protective umbrellas of the Clam Outdoor group there, and Blackfish Gear happens to be a part of it. And so, yeah, it's one big, amazing family. You will not find a finer director of pro staff in the industry than Matt Johnson. He is a man of integrity, honor, and talk about companies that truly do care about their pro staffing people, regardless if it's an entry level, deal or, all the way to their Austin Felixes and their Adrian Avinas and those guys. That's actually where I got a chance to meet Adrian Avina, was at our annual pro staff event where they hold a pro staffing event for fishing, and we have dinner the night before up at the building up there in Rogers, just right around the Twin Cities there. And so, yeah, it's a cool thing to network. So I am going to get you that information after the podcast, my friend, and I'm going to send an email off to Matt. I'll put your email on there and introduce you, and hopefully they can get you set up, man, because I have a feeling you're about to make some waves on a few scenes out there. Take that kayak to college with you if you're going to college. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, that's got to be in trailer. Well, my friend, you are welcome to stay with us here, or if you have plans, we've got our next guest sitting in the green room right now. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. And so let's see here. If you need to disconnect, go ahead. If not, go ahead and stay in here, and we'll just all chat fishing. And then also, there's a comment coming in from, looks like through Facebook from Levi. Says, hell of a job done, Jake. So you're starting to get the clue here. All right. So this dude I first met at Wilson Lake, Kansas last season. I am super green and wet behind the ears as a kayak angler. Met this dude at the ramp. Dude gave me tremendous good advice at the ramp, helping me kind of get my bearings about me first thing in the morning there. Unbelievably friendly, and the guy is just a flat-out stick. His story about the Classic is something awesome, so we're going to bring him in here to chat about this. This coming straight from Missouri himself, Mr. John Denton. John, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Hey, Gene, how's it going?
Good, brother. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad.
Awesome. So, yeah, man, you and I met for the first time. It was Wilson, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was like in wee hours of the morning. It was super dark out there, so I had to really look at your kayak close so I could make sure I remembered you at the ramp, because it's like couldn't see too much, too many faces that when it was so dark out there. But yeah, that was a heck of an event. And then yeah, we've run into each other, dude. You for this event here. This is, I was ready to throw ice water at you when we're all eating dinner after day one at the same place. They were right next to us here. John, you come from some pretty solid stock, brother. You're coming from the Moyak, group down there. You boys know what the hell you're doing. All right, I'm just gonna say it flat out.
Some of those guys are unreal, man. Chad and Lance and Troy Inky, they're all real good, man. It's a tough crowd.
You're right there with them, brother. Iron sharpens iron. Trust me. And that's what better way to do it than to fish with that group of just awesome people. And yeah, just straight, hooks, man. Those guys are, I couldn't believe that team thing. I really thought you boys had that. That was, did you see how excited those other guys were? I mean, to dethrone you guys is a heck of an accomplishment.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad. The biggest fish I threw up there was 19 inches. I felt like I was kind of slacking for the team. But
oh, whatever.
It was a good event.
Your fish could have ate my stringer, okay? I had a bag of rats going up there.
I had to sort through them, man. I sorted through a bunch of rats.
So I'm looking here on day one. Let's see. Hey, day one, yeah, you went out and put it to them, man. 85 3/4. You were on fifth after day one. Holy Moses. Yeah, you had Chad, Joe, and yourself. Missouri guys all up in there. Oh, and 10th, Sam Young. So yeah, several of you guys from Missouri up in that deal there. So talk to me about it, man. And before we get going, tell me about your practice, John.
Well, Thursday morning I got up and I finished building the deck on the house. We're getting ready to sell it. I didn't have any time to practice, but I just fished history. I've only fished the lake twice, but I've caught fish both times in this area, and I'll just redo what I've been doing there, and kind of worked out.
And folks, this is no joke, because I saw him. He came strolling into the check-in, our captain's meeting, and you could tell he just literally came from home. He hadn't been on the lake. He had no practice coming into this thing, and I'm thinking, oh no, bro, that's, oh no. I'm thinking, damn it, I want John to do well, I was like, oh, I'm just going to go out there and go fish. Sometimes, most time I do better.
I was looking at the Facebook all week and seeing these guys, seeing you and people just putting in these big old fish. And I was like, man, I'm missing out on, I'm not going to understand what's going on when I get there. And I was a little nervous about it, but fish are fish. They'll always bite a black worm.
Justin Atkins, former MLF Bass Pro Tour, and now back on the Elite Series, told me, and he's a younger dude than me, but he looked at me and goes, just remember this. They're just fish.
And just fish.
And that in its simplicity, has been something that I struggle with, man. I overthink the heck out of stuff when I'm out there. So I keep hearing his voice in there. They're just fish. Chill out. Just go to work. So, brother, you go out there, you bash up 85 3/4 inch. You're in 5th place after day 1 on no practice. And, dude, you looked like you were in a good mental place that night at dinner. I could tell you were calm. You felt good about what you found. I mean, what was day 1 like for you?
My wife texted me that morning, and she said, we got a good life, and just go out there and enjoy fishing. It's fishing. Have fun. And she said, I feel like you're going to do really well. And so I didn't get out of I put my kayak in the water at 6:15, and then I sat in the truck until first cast. And there were people on all my spots, and I just started at the ramp, and I caught 5 fish in, 10 minutes. Right by the ramp. I ended up pulling
ramp pattern.
You won't even believe what I caught them on.
Well, I'm seeing a black worm.
No. A cotton cordell, boy howdy.
No kidding.
Yeah, most people don't even know what that is, but it's the most subtle topwater bait you can get.
That is amazing. Yeah, because dude, you had 5 + 9 on the scales there, so yeah, you were on fish like numbers. You culled a bunch.
I probably caught between 40 and 50 bass that day.
Wow.
I just never got into the real big ones, but
right. Well, that 19 anchored the bag for day 1. It did a pretty good job for you, man.
I caught him at like 2:00. It was.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and on day 2, I didn't catch my big one until 2:30, 2:45.
Oh geez.
Yeah.
So you had that afternoon stuff coming in there. Yeah, my day 1, I literally culled in the last 4 minutes. I had a rat. A real skinny rat, and I had a slightly chunkier rat that I culled it with, but it actually did bring me up 1 position because of that. I was like, hey, I'm way back here on the bottom feeders, but you fish right up, man. Fish up to that last time where you can actually get it up there.
I cast until 3:00. I don't ever stop, no matter what's going on, and just believe that there's been several tournaments. My last big fish comes in the last 5 minutes, and it just. I don't know. There's something about when you get hypersensitive at that last 10 minutes, you kind of zone in to what you're looking for. I feel like.
Did you see day 2 where Jake went out and put a clinic on the field bend?
Big man, he come out there, young gun, showing us what's up. That was a good day, man. Congratulations!
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was impressive stuff. Put the biggest stringer up, for the event, and
that's the whole event, right?
Yeah,
90 inches.
Above 90, it was. Let's see here, 90 3/4.
Awesome, man. That's.
Yep. Cole was 90 1/4, so he was right behind him on that day. But yeah, first bags that went over 90 for that one there for sure. But so your day 2, Jake kind of basically did similar stuff. Did you change anything up for day 2, or did you just kind of go back out and rinse and repeat again?
No, man. Day 2 is completely different. They didn't cooperate at all.
Agreed.
They wouldn't look at the boy howdy, and I put on a buzzbait, and I missed the first 4 fish with it. And last year at Bull Shoals, I fished a buzzbait, and I missed 20-something fish in the tournament, and I just kept fishing it and trying to force it. And this time I put it up and got the jig out.
You got a trailer hook on that thing?
Yeah, they just wouldn't. I don't know what. They were just blowing up behind it. They weren't really eating it.
Wow.
So I put it up, and I got the black worm and the jig out, and just started pitching to laydowns. That's where I caught all my fish on laydown.
Here, as of recently, I've got 3 baits that will always be rigged. That's my trusties, right? I mean, that's the stuff I have right there that I'm going to throw. And if I'm not catching fish with those, then I got problems. I need to move or something, something's wrong. And then I have the other stuff that I really want to throw. Because the 3 stuff that I have that I throw short of a jig, I love throwing a jig. But the other 2, I'll throw it because I gotta. but I'd rather be, give me that damn 6-inch swim bait and let me start swinging that thing around.
Right.
And I'm a lot more at home throwing that or a nice, DT5, whatever, just a 5XD. I mean, throw something like that. Lot more fun throwing that stuff around when possible. But
I love when they eat a spinnerbait, but I couldn't get them to do it. So, I had a Senko, a wacky rig Senko is always in the boat.
Yep.
But I kind of switched it up this time. I left my spinning rod at home. I put it on 17-pound fluorocarbon and a flipping stick, and I hammered them with a 2/0 hook. I put it on.
Really?
Yeah.
On a wacky rig? That's awesome.
Well, that water's kind of dirty, and if I can hit them hard, I like to hit them hard,
Yeah.
I lose a lot on that light tackle and all those trees, so I don't like
Agreed.
to finesse at Truman.
No, and I said this in the opening sequence here. To me, Truman's always been the least Ozarkian of all the Ozark lakes. It kind of acts a little more southern than the other Ozark lakes do,
I grew up in Arkansas, and it reminds me of Arkansas. It's dirty water, a lot of timber, and that's how I like to fish. So next week will be different. I hate Table Rock. I absolutely despise that lake, and we got a tournament Saturday there, and it'll probably eat my lunch again.
It's beautiful down there, though, isn't it? I mean,
it's beautiful, but that water's clear.
And there's so much history on that water. I got taken just in the event itself. I got sucked into that, my first boat tournament there, because it was such a bucket list to go to Table Rock. I mean, there's so many legends have been created on that body of water. It's like, man, current, learning about how important current is down there. And just seeing, but I wonder, have you heard anything on Table Rock? Is it down like Truman, or are they all connected? Or
like 7 days ago, it was at 914, which is right at Winter Pool.
Okay.
But I'm hearing that by the dam, it's up to 20-foot visibility. 20-foot visibility. They said it's like fishing in a swimming pool, and that's not my style. So I'll have to pull out the stops down there.
I hear you, man. Yeah, for sure. That's that reminds me a lot of Colorado waters. That's what we have up here. Crystal clear waters on a lot of our lakes, and a lot of rock, not much, if any, vegetation. Occasional lay down, or maybe some wood here and there, but most of the time it's just rocky shores, and it's going to be ledges, and you got to find the big boulders, or find maybe a gravel, section. Literally a change in rock size can mean the difference between finding them and not finding them.
I didn't even know you had bass in Colorado.
I hear that a lot, brother. I hear that a lot. People see that Colorado Kayak Bassmasters on the side of the truck, and they're like, y'all have bass out there? I just think trout. I'm like, there's not a lot of them, but they are here. And we host, we put up, we got some events where we'll put up 80, 85, but 70s other times. I did win big bass at our southernmost lake, Trinidad. That's literally on the border of New Mexico and Colorado. I won big bass at that event last year with a 17 3/4-inch smallie. So it was fishing tough. The guys tell me it fishes way better than that normally, but I'm thinking, I hope so, man, because that's why I drive 10 hours, is to get into, bigger fish, for sure.
That's awesome. So
day 2, you come out, and it was harder for everybody. I actually only literally put one fish up. The pattern, I messed up by going to a different place that I had, not been to. So I literally put more miles on the kayak that day than I ever have. I went, literally, I think like total of 15 plus miles. I took that 100 amp hour battery down to like 32%. That's the lowest I've ever taken that down. Normally I can spend 8, 9, 10, 11 hours out there with spot lock and such, and she won't drop below, 55, 60%. The thing is a beast. But to that day, I drained her down, man. We pulled it way down there.
I ran mine lower than I've ever ran it. I had to cover some water to find the fish.
For sure, and Yeah, like the biggest one you put up that day was like 18. You come in day 2 with 79 inches.
Yeah, I struggled on day 2, and
Still caught fish though. 5, I mean, plus 7 more. I mean, you submitted 12 fish through the whole thing.
I caught a bunch of little rats that day. I could still find them, but the boat traffic, there was a few boat anglers in there, and I had a lot of kayak pressure, and I think the boat anglers actually saved my day.
Really?
I had missed a big fish early in the morning on a buzzbait, and I had run out of options, and so I ran all the way back to the ramp, and a boat cut me off, and he pulled in that pocket, and he threw a big glide bait in there and caught it right in front of me. And I was sitting there with 30 or 40 minutes left to fish, and I didn't know what to do, and so I just glanced around the lake, and there was a big straight bank that was mud, and it was super shallow, and there was one little divot where you could see a creek coming out of the hill, and it had just a few trees in it. And I said, well, maybe one's spawning over there in an odd spot that nobody's going to. And the second flip in that pocket, I caught the 18-incher.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think the boat angler kind of pushed me that way.
Right.
It's funny how that you think you're getting beat and then it works out. So,
you know, I was in on day 1. I had finally figured out the shallow bite where it was at, and unfortunately realizing that it was just smaller ones. But I figured, you know what? Let's weed through them, and there'll be some decent ones, because I had an 18 plus on day 1, and that kept me beating the shores. Right. You know, I just kept banging on them. Well, as I'm going down one side of this creek channel, there's a boat coming the other way, and it's this guy who's guiding a couple older gentlemen, and they're crappie fishing. Well, the guy that's guiding is up there, and he's swinging around, a little spin caster rod, and throws his egg beater out there, and it's just got a little crappie jig on it. He mashes like a solid 18, 19-inch bass. And he's pulling it in, and it's jumping in the air, and he's like holding it with one hand, and he's like, man, I hope you're not fishing a tournament. And I look over at him like, nah, just the national championship, biggest event of the year. And he looks and he goes, oh my God, dude, I am so sorry. And I'm like, hey, it's part of our sport, brother. You're good. Keep going there.
The name of the game.
It is, man. We got to share that water out there, and we've seen the bad sides of it enough, but at the same time, most of the time it's an innocent deal, and people doing what they're doing. And I could tell, they weren't looking for bass. And I'm just thinking, I just came up that bank throwing a juicy jig around. Where was that stupid bass when I was running up through that stuff?
That 19-incher, there was another kayak angler, and it looked like he was fishing a Senko. He was fishing kind of slow, and we passed each other. And I said, hey, is it cool if I just drop in right behind you and fish that bank you came down? He goes, yeah. And the first lay down past him, 20 yards past him, is I caught that biggest one. He had just fished it.
Yep.
You just never know. You're fishing different techniques, and I caught that fish on a jig, and I felt bad because I caught it right in the face. But.
I've seen it. I've literally thrown into the same hole 4 times, in a say a crotch of a tree or something. I've thrown back into there 4 times. In about the 3rd time, I'm like, I'm just practicing my casting at this point. You know what I mean? It's like, I just want that accuracy thing. And then that 4th time, boom, I hit him. And it's like this jig went by your head 3 other times, and you were just like, whatever. But yeah, that one time, whatever it is, that reaction, thing triggers in their head, and it's just like, nope, got to eat it.
Yep.
Awesome stuff.
The second biggest fish of the day, I lost him earlier in the morning. Right beside the boat, I had about 6 foot of line out, and he bumped it, and I pulled it tight instead of setting the hook, and he rolled. And I on camera, I said he's probably 17, 18 inches. And I left, and I got to thinking, I'm gonna go back there and see if I can catch him. And I went back to that tree and threw a Senko in there and caught him. And I know it was the same fish because he was real dark and pretty. And sometimes when you miss him, you can go back and find him again. He was a mad fish that day, I guess.
Exactly. So I got, this is one of them, and you can see behind you, man, the stump fields that we were playing around in out there. It was unbelievable. Knowing that's just below the surface of the water when it's at normal levels. I don't think I'll ever drive a boat on that lake ever again.
That lake makes me nervous on my boat. It for sure does.
The first time I came to Truman, I had my brand new bass boat. Yeah. And, man, I was doing a lot of idling nice and easy until I had so many skull and crossbone marks on my graph, of marking stumps that I would see or bump into. It's like, avoid this. You cannot plane out at that point, type thing. It was pretty wild. So after day 2, you put that stuff up though, and it was good enough. Oh, I didn't even show Jake's there. So you know what? I'm just going to cycle through these things. Let's pull this up here real quick. We got your picture there. Oh. We'll see if we can cycle through these. There we go. We'll turn that off. Small technical difficulties. So here was it was kind of a grainy shot. But that's Jake getting his 3rd place check. Pretty awesome. New manager of Everhart's Outdoors. Shout out to those guys. Those are some pretty sick trophies. Where's your trophy, Jake? I really expected that trophy to be in the background somewhere.
It's sitting on my floor right now. I don't got my trophy case ain't big enough for that. I just got a little.
Oh, to have that problem. That's
Hey,
awesome.
it's good to see these young guys coming in and doing work.
Heck yeah. No, and that's by throwing a jig all day. My man Jake, he did put in work. I mean, that's no easy task, man. That's head down, chin in the pocket, and just keep working. So I'm cycling through. We showed some of these earlier. There we go. There's John, third place for the tournament trail series. You took 3rd for that event that was going on at the same time. Jake, you didn't get in both, did you?
I didn't know.
Gotcha. So John, you took out 3rd place in that event, the trail series, and then 8th overall for the classic, which is awesome stuff, dude. For you to go down there and just fish your strengths, fish your skills, and put it on display, brother. That was super, super cool.
Yeah, I'm glad Jake didn't fish the trail series.
Especially with that day 2 total. Yeah, that was.
I was
got
kicking myself
me
for
some
now.
AOI points.
Yeah. All right.
Another interesting thing is I didn't turn my graph on day 2, and for about 30 minutes in day 1, I didn't run a graph at all.
Really?
Yeah, I knew they were shallow, and I'm superstitious. I think the noise, and so I put my trolling motor as low as I can put it on, and sometimes I even push pole, and I won't run my graph when I'm fishing those real shallow water fish. So
I gotcha. I hem-haw on that myself personally, and as we all know, it's personal per angler, man. If you have any doubt whatsoever of line, tackle, rod, color, what I used to think that when I would throw a chew in when I was fishing, because I smoked for like 28 years, but when I'd go out in the boat, I didn't take cigarettes with me, so I'd throw a pouch in. And I had a superstition for a while that when I was wetting the line, that tobacco on there was giving off a scent that, the fish didn't like or whatever. Probably, horse crap. You know what I mean? It's like, no, they're not that sensitive. But in my head, dude, so I literally would no longer, sit there and wet the lines. I would use water. I just grab lake water and put it on there myself. It's like, no, if I want to fish and stay sane, I had to have nicotine of some kind, but I wasn't going to slob up, any more, stuff on it. So yeah, that it doesn't matter what it is as an angler, man. If something gets in your head, that's that.
we all have our superstitions. In Guantanamo Bay, we would go out fishing for tarpon and stuff like that, and we had a superstition: if we didn't have wine and cigars, we couldn't catch any.
That's a heck of a superstition to have there. Hold on a second. Am I this much of a dope? Guantanamo Bay, are you a veteran, John?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I did 8 years in the Navy.
How have I... John, I am so sorry.
You're good, man.
As
I just
much
don't go out and
as
broadcast.
much as we have talked with our nonprofits and stuff. Oh my God! First off, thank you and your family for what you have done for all of us, man, to allow us to do this stuff out here. Dang, man, your stock just, of course, now just doubled with me, of course. Now I'm like, holy sh! If this wasn't a family show, I'd be inventing cuss words about myself right now.
I appreciate it, man. I loved every minute of that 8 years. I had a good time.
That's awesome. Navy as well, huh?
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So
It's
Guantanamo.
kind of like the military. It's close.
You know, the only real Club Med has got to be the Air Force. All right? I mean, I think they make them do a chin up, right? I mean, that's one. They got to do one or
But
two.
we've all looked at their facilities and been a little jealous.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So,
They got like the most money out of anybody, I think.
yeah, I lived on an Air Force base for 2 years, and their stuff was a little bit nicer than ours.
A little nicer. And the Navy's no slouch either, man. I mean, that's, you're definitely doing pretty well there. And so, yeah, the Air Force, though, for sure. Well, we have with Roman's Warrior Foundation, my heart is, forever embedded with the Marine Corps now that I have come to, I call many of what I call my extended family now, are Marines. And so just understanding them better and seeing that brotherhood that is unbreakable, is just amazing and inspiring to me. And so
They're the true soldiers of the world, man. They're mad respect for those guys.
it's an amazing accomplishment to call yourself a United States Marine. And
Absolutely.
and so I always watch my P's and Q's. They're not soldiers. They are Marines, and there's no such thing as a former Marine either. There is Marine and then there's dead Marines. That's it.
Hey, when we're in our private life after this podcast or something, I got a guy I want to link you up with. He's got
Absolutely.
another nonprofit. He's a Marine that got hit by a mortar. And I met him through a fishing trip that he was on, and I took him out. He's
Perfect.
a real good dude. I'll link you guys up. You guys might have a similar interest with what he's doing.
That would be awesome, man. We're with Romans and the Field Ops Division. We are looking to start booking some stuff around. Minnesota's a target because I have some people up there that I know that have resources that I want to try to take some Colorado guys or gals up to Minnesota for a special trip up there. Introduce them to some true northern Minnesota fishing that they would not get out here. Missouri's another place. I want to take some Colorado, folks, some warriors from here, take them to Missouri area and let them understand, and see what the Ozarks are like. And just, I've said this time and time again, I get into the state of Missouri and I just feel like I'm home, man. It is so beautiful down there. And so, yeah, I would absolutely love to get that guy's information so we can start working together with, some other entities out there and see what we can put together. That would be a cool deal.
Awesome.
And then likewise, bring some guys bring some folks from Missouri, bring them out here to Colorado, and see if I can maybe connect up with some people that know how to spell the word trout, because I don't. But
I think Tyson's actually a certified trout guide. He's from Texas, but I think he went through some class and he wanted to be an official guide for the Wounded Warriors in Action, and I think he knows his trout better than I would. I think they stink, and I don't like them.
Dude, they're deer of the water, and they're spastic, and they're so delicate. I mean, how many times have I, pull a smallmouth up that's just, ready to tear your face off? It bounces off the side of the gunnel on the boat. You get the hook out, try to get a picture of the crazy thing and throw it back in the water. Little Tasmanian devils. A trout, if you squeeze it too hard, it's dead.
It's dead.
It's like, what is that? It's not even a fish, man.
They're almost as sensitive as shad.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy evening here, and both of you for stopping by. It was inspirational. I will say that as a fellow competitor of yours, it was awesome to watch you guys work in those conditions there. They weren't horrible, but they were not easy either. And what you guys did, I hope you both understand just That's impressive stuff. All of the top placers in that event throughout. That's impressive because that was a group of amazing people. I'm looking down through the names in this group going, oh my Lord.
Some real anglers in there for sure.
Dude, I'll put these guys in a bathtub and they're going to outfish a lot of people, that are out there. And so, yeah, you guys should feel awesome about that. That'll be one that sticks with you for a while, I hope.
Well, thanks for having us on here, and congratulations for your award too. It's well deserved.
Dude, I will be honest and straightforward. Number one, I was absolutely stunned. As Tyler's going through and making the description of what the Sportsman, of the Year award, being the first one that they have, as he's going down the list of what this person should have, in my head, I'm like, Marty Hughes. That's who this is going to be. I'm thinking, it's an OG of our sport, and that man has helped, more people out there, get into the sport, learn the sport, and he's always a guy to lend a hand if you're in trouble, type thing. And so that's who I'm thinking in my head. And so literally when he said my name, I was looking around the crowd and I'm like, did I just actually hear my name? And it stunned me, man. It blew me away. But I will say this. It has been a long time since I've had coworkers, first off. And so to be recognized by your coworkers and people that you respect for, contributions, I'm not going to lie. This made the entire trip for me, man. That having those guys put that, give me that. And it just makes me want to work harder to live up to it. It's awesome stuff. When you're in small business and when you're doing nonprofit work, it's you have to let the work be your reward. You know what I mean? And it's cool to get this from there and to see the responses from folks. It was honoring, it was humbling, and yeah, man, I got a new camera ordered when I got home. We're gonna get this audio and video crap figured out. We're gonna make it happen.
Well, everything you said about Marty, man, you just changed his name to yours. You're the same. You're the same kind of person. Just like Lake of the Pines, man. I lost my oar and you dig in your truck and say, here, give it to me the next time you see me. You're just that kind of dude. Most people don't do that. So I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate you helping me out when I needed it. And
my wife tells me, you take care of the karma bank for us, I'll take care of the real one.
There you go.
I said, atta girl. Yes, ma'am. I'll keep doing it. And I believe that, man. I just turned 50 and I believe that. You take care, treat people around you how you want to be treated as well, and just take, if we stop letting dumb differences get in the way of just being humans together out there, and just take care of each other, because the real issues are lying way east of us. They're not here.
Right. Absolutely.
So at any rate, gentlemen, again, thank you so very, very much. It was an honor and a privilege to have you come on here. So apparently, I'm hearing from Moyak, a little correction here. Joe Bailey listed from Missouri on Tourney X, but he fishes from Iowa. I think that confused some people. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And thank you, Levi, very much for your kind words and watching here live with us. We appreciate that. For any of you folks at home that are going to be watching this on a recorded deal, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I hope you guys enjoyed these guys as much as I did. And as always, subscribe. That's a big deal for us. Share the podcast with folks. It helps us on our, spread the word about our missions out there. And at the end of the day, that's why we're doing this stuff. We're going to bring fishing and healing together for a section of our country that absolutely deserves it and needs it. So, as always, folks, we appreciate everything you have done for us out here. I am searching for our exit. There she is. Thank you so much for all the likes and tight lines, y'all, and be safe. That's the wrong one.